morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here with Donald, and it's pretty much just going to be a continuation of Yankee Fight last night, which Donald, appreciate you inviting me to hang out with you on your show, and to everybody in the chat last night, kind of really talking me into coming on and hanging out. I enjoyed it. It was great to get into a different environment aside from the morning show, but it's really the same. The same sentiment from last night still applies. It's almost like when you get so frustrated, you can't even get angry anymore. Is really how I still. You would think after a night's sleep, you wake up, you're so frustrated, you would just be pissed off, angry, raging. I just don't have that with this team because it's kind of what we expected. Like we saw it. It's almost like we saw it coming, over the summer months where there was just no heart in this team. It's the business as usual. We'll get to the playoffs. We'll be okay. Is really not. That's not the way to go about. That's not the aura of a championship team. And you want to talk. There's been a lot of talk about the Yankee aura is gone, and they're not the Yankees of the past. If you weren't around to see the dynasty years, I feel so bad for you. But you can't help when you can't help when you became a fan. But to stick around and be a Yankee fan through these years that they've just been completely inept, I think those fans deserve as much credit as the ones that are pissed off that they don't have what they had. So it's a double-edged sword with this team. They are going to bring you up. They're going to tear you down. And they are just they're not the standard anymore with sports. They're not. Because it could be applied to any sports franchise. They're going to have some good years. They're going to give you some things to look forward to. And just like most other teams, they're just not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to bail it in and bring it home. They're not. This team, we got to the World Series last year. It almost seems like dumb luck at this point that they got there. Am I lying? Is my take that far off? Where last year was just you talk about a crapshoot. Last year, getting to the World Series feels like a crapshoot because we saw the teams that we had to go through last year were in the AL Central, right. Which, professional players, you don't want to dismiss anybody that makes it to the major leagues. I think that's unfair and just arrogant. But we saw that the way the Yankees played throughout games within their division. And when you saw going into this playoff bracket, they had to go through the Red Sox and the BlueJays. The optimism really diminished greatly of the Yankees making this run.
Man, I think your thoughts were really astute, and I think it really encapsulates where we're at as an organization and as a fan base. And you are 100% right. So, to be honest, every point you made is 100% right. So let's go with the latter point. Yeah, mm-hmm. We benefited from a very, very generous run to the World Series. The AL Central certainly been in the past. The Yankees, just like flat track, and. So, yeah, but to be fair, the other way you look at it is you can only beat what's in front of you. So, yeah, they did that, but once again, when the stakes are highest and when the quality of team is so much higher, the Yankees fall apart, and that's been really the story of the Yankees since 2018, since Aaron Boone became manager. Now, is that all Aaron Boone's fault? No. but he does have to wear it because he's the manager and he's overseeing the fact that whenever the Yankees face quality opposition, really quality opposition, they fall apart. So the Red Sox, pretty good team, but eminently beatable, and the Yankees just got through, just skin of their teeth, right? But the Blue Jays are 3 or 4 times better than the Red Sox, at least. Much better offense, much better offense, and the Yankees are getting schooled, embarrassed, humiliated, whatever word you want to put, and it's in back-to-back games. They've given up, what was it? I've lost count the amount of runs they've given up, like 23 or something like that. They've just been absolutely slaughtered by the Blue Jays, and that can't be accepted. That should not be accepted. So, your earlier point, yeah, you actually do have a lot of sympathy for Yankee fans that actually didn't get to see the glory. Because at least me and you, Tats, we have seen the glory, although it's a long time ago and I can even barely remember it. Well, at least we saw it. But for the new fans, they have been hoodwinked, led astray, as Stephen A. Smith says. But it's true, because thing is, right, the Yankees are telling you now that just making the playoffs is an achievement, and the thing is, the Yankees are just rewriting whatever narrative they can in order to fit it in and make them look, better than they actually are. They're just not a very smart organization. Now, they're not a terrible organization. They're not like the Mets, but no, they're not a terrible organization, but they're not that smart. They're not that good. They don't have a very good manager. They have a below average manager, and that's a kind way of putting it. They have a good GM, but not a great GM, and they've got a very mediocre owner who just really only cares about the bottom line. He's not really that interested in making this team better. And they have an incompetent analytics staff and an incompetent training staff and quite incompetent across the board in that degree. And they have really let us down. They have let us down. And the thing is, their whole blueprint now is to sell us about the past. They're living off past glories, to be honest. That's what they are. They still call themselves a fully operational Death Star, and they love to big themselves up, but in reality, they're just like every other organization now in baseball. And that never used to be the standard. The Yankees used to always be like the standard.
And that's the big problem,
Yeah.
And it comes to this comment from Luca, and he's spot on. The Yankees are selling their past as their present without any perceived glory, and he's spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, Luca, you can't say it any better than that.
No.
It used to be like, if you grew up watching the team in the 70s, watching the bad baseball and the drought through the 80s, which is when I was a fan, through the 80s, going into my teenage years through the 90s. It's you had that roller coaster, and is this just another? Is this a repeat of the 80s when we're hoping for a repeat of the late 90s, early 2000s?
I think this is a whole new thing, though, man. I think it's hard to even compare them to the 80s and all that stuff. I think it's really hard to do that because this is like a whole different ball game now, where in the 80s they weren't exactly. They weren't selling you a dynasty. The Yankees are still selling themselves off a dynasty.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Right.
There was a different mentality to being a fan back then.
the 80s, I believe. I mean, obviously, I wasn't really around for that, but I mean, I believe that they didn't really have that whole marketing thing that they have right now, where it's
No.
just like they just it's like everything's plastic lunchbox, stick Aaron Judge's face on it. You know what I'm saying? Buy a 99 burger, buy a fucking Anthony Volpe burger, and a fucking Austin Wells fucking burrito and all that stuff. I mean, they're like the Yankees are just it's just they're just really a heavily marketed organization without much soul now. They seem a little bit soulless, but the thing is they're just lost.
Yeah.
They're just lost. That's what they're at. They're just lost. Like they don't really have a plan. There's not really a plan here. They're just going year by year selling us the same stuff. Like, oh well, we made the playoffs, so we had a good run at it. Really, really proud of our guys. Blah de blah de blah. Rinse, repeat. Buy a 99 burger. See you next year. And it's the same story, man. They don't really want to make changes, and until the Yankees make actual changes, real changes, then nothing's really going to change. It's just going to be the same. And obviously, there's going to be some people going, "What are you so unhappy about? You made the playoffs. You make the playoffs every year." But it's not about the playoffs. Like, no one remembers, oh, we won the wild card round. No one will remember that in 5 years' time. No one.
No.
It's about championships. You only remember going down the Canyon of Heroes. That's the only thing that you will remember. That should be the only thing that you aim for, to be honest. As a Yankee fan, as a member of the Yankees, it should be about going down the Canyon of Heroes. Anything less than that, I'm not going to say it's a failure, but you've not met the standard. And by the way, we haven't met that standard since 2009. And that is a failure.
Yeah.
That is a huge failure. And I'm kind of bored of this because it's the same thing. And really, it's all about people being very comfortable in their jobs. They're very cushy in their jobs. Brian Cashman has a lifetime job, and there is some ego attached to that. And he knows that if he fired Aaron Boone, then the questions will be pointed at him. So he's never going to do it. And then you've got an owner in Hal Steinbrenner who is absent at best. And you have a guy like Mike Fishman who's unaccountable. And that's where we're at. We've got an unaccountable team that just kind of takes it year by year going, oh, well, we've got Aaron Judge and we've got this. We're really close, really, really close. Then they'll make the playoffs and then lose in the playoffs and they get to see the same thing. Oh, well, we were really, really close. I would not be against making serious changes. I think it needs to be done. Like, blow the whole thing up, because that's the only way you're going to make a step forward. You can only make a step forward until you realize that there's a problem and you address how you make those changes. How are we going to fix this? And as I said last night, the one common denominator since 2018 is Aaron Boone. We've changed the coaching staff entirely. We've changed the medical staff a couple of times. We've given Brian Cashman some help by bringing him some guys like Overmanai and all that stuff. We've given him a little bit of help. We've made all these changes. We've refocused on development and the minor league system, and we're doing that. We've completely changed the team in terms of less like top heavy Juan Soto's. We've gone in and spaced the money out a little bit more with Max Fried and Bellinger. And so they've made all these changes, and guess what? The one common denominator is Aaron Boone. The Yankees still fall short, and so it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Next year, if the Yankees we'll obviously have Garrett Cole back. The Yankees could bring back Pete Alonso. They could sign Pete Alonso You know, they can sign Murakami, they could sign everybody in free agency, and it won't matter because the thing is not talent. The problem is not talent. It's Aaron Boone, but not all Aaron Boone, but he's the face of it. The problem is up at the top. The problem is the organization. It's not the talent. This talent is there. This talent could win a World Series. There's no reason why it couldn't. The problem is at the top. The mentality, they're far too comfortable. Hal doesn't want to face responsibility. He doesn't want the fight, so he stays out of it. Brian Cashman, he's just a very comfortable guy. Like he's got it made. He's got the cushiest GM job in the world. And you've got Aaron Boone, who's just the puppet. He's just a puppet.
That's what I was saying yesterday. You know, and when we were hanging out, Boone's too. You know, he's too. They're all too complacent. But Boone is the manager. He's the one that's sitting in front of the mic before and after every game, not the GM. Right? Cashman's that's a separate problem at this point because he will bring in the players. You know, is he always bringing in the right players? No, but he will constantly try to shuffle things around and see if he can get things right.
Right.
You know, he's just, you know, he's an active GM. Doesn't necessarily make him a good GM. But same thing with Boone. You know, it's his job is secure because he's going to do whatever the GM tells him to do.
Right.
You know, we talked about this for people that weren't, you know, that weren't in the Yanktified chat or watched yesterday. You know, we had said it doesn't matter how, you know, Boone is going to be the biggest problem. Nobody's job is at risk. It's almost like they're a more successful version of the Pirates.
Yep.
You know, they're the Pirates with a high payroll because they're not going to make any adjustments. Everything is fine. The money's coming in. You know, the shareholders are happy. The brand is there. And it doesn't seem, look, we're not winning World Series and look at all this money we're making. You know, but it's got to get to that breaking point where the fan, like I went to, you know, I barely went to games this year. You know, unless I was, you know, I have my friends that we go to games together. You came to the States, we went to a game. You know, if you didn't come, I wasn't going.
No, exactly.
I had no intentions of going to a game, and you're like, "Well, I'm coming to the States." Well, I said, "Well, just we're hanging out." You know, and rather than sit at a restaurant, we went to a ball game. But at Yankee Stadium, it's almost like a restaurant. I mean, there's food galore, which, I mean, the food is great. I get out the food. I do love the food. But, you know, like, there should be more than it being a social gathering to want to go and see the Yankees. That's what I want to get back to. I want to be like, oh, this team's coming. I got to get there.
Right.
Like I was the schmuck last night that watched the whole game.
I mean, that's just devotion,
So
man.
if you appreciate that, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you're not subscribed, because I actually tortured myself just to make sure that if you guys weren't going to watch it, somebody was. You know, and to the channels that call the game, oh my God, I feel so bad for them. But when you get guys like Dave Sims in his first year as the radio guy replacing John Sterling, it's, you know, you listen to his call on the home run, and it's like he didn't even care. The life was sucked out of him. And it really mirrored every emotion going through the Yankee fan at that point. You know, as opposed to having, this is why when they do these national games, it should be teamed up with both teams' main broadcast guy and a couple of the color commentary guys. There should not be these nationalized broadcasts because when John Schmaltz, he was enjoying every second of that torture that we all went through. It was almost like he was reveling in it. And I'm sorry, you're pretty much tuning out half your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you have more of a team of the national of the local broadcasts, you could probably have one better conversation between the two, which is more relevant to what the teams are going through. Because Schmaltz can't talk about the battle test that the Yankees go through. He's watching it on TV, but he's not following every game, every inning, every pitch. As much as I don't like Michael Kay, I'd rather have Michael Kay and you know, the other guy from Toronto that said that
Well,
this
for
is going
sure,
to be one of
but
the
we're
best
going
baseball.
off course. Let's get back to
Yeah,
the Yankees. We're getting off course. I don't care about the announcing. The announcing's always been terrible, but I mean, it doesn't. There's no doubt that
yeah,
the option should be that the S Network should be able to cover
yeah.
the playoff games, but it's only a minor issue. But the big issue is obviously the Yankees' mentality. They're comfortable. They're far too comfortable, and they need to be made uncomfortable, because that's the only way we can make some changes here. We need some kind of changes. The changes aren't going to be on the roster because the roster is already pretty much set. There's not too many spots. I mean, if you look at this lineup, I mean, going into this offseason, there's only really like first base and maybe center field that you look at, because Grisham is obviously a free agent. Now you could obviously move Bellinger over to center. He's more comfortable there anyway. So maybe there's one outfield spot and there's one first base spot. But to be honest, I think the Yankees will probably be internal with the outfield with Spencer Jones and Dominguez. That leaves first base, and they could go internal with that with Ben Rice. And so the lineup isn't really going to be looked at, I doubt. The rotation's already set. The bullpen is already kind of, well, it's certainly at the back end, it'll be set. So really, the only way that you can make some changes going into next year is to look at leadership. They need to change the mentality. They're just far too relaxed. I mean, if you're looking at the interviews, they're all just sort of like, oh, we're not phased. Oh, it's just a blip. We'll be fine tomorrow. And it's the same stuff. It's like the Aaron Boone mentality is not a mentality that is conducive to winning championships. They're far too relaxed. You look at Aaron Judge with a smirk. He's like, hey, it's like, we faced a tough pitcher today. Wasn't great. It was okay. We'll be fine. It's just, that's the mentality. It's like the Aaron Boone mentality. And it's not conducive to winning championships. There's no toughness. There's no intensity.
Yeah, well,
there's no preparation.
We do have a guest that's jumping in to kind of share our agony and our disdain for this team. So, Donald, who do we have sitting backstage?
We have got my man, my co-host on the Knicks chat. He runs this channel, the Knicks Cast channel, and I'm looking forward to doing some Knicks games with him. He is my guy, Luca. He's moved down south.
Yes, I am down south. First of all, good morning to Donald. Good morning to Tats. Good morning to everybody in the chat. I hope everybody's doing well. I was in the chat earlier. First of all, I want to say I want to give credit to you two, Tats, Donald, even Rob. I know he's not here, for continuing to cover this team throughout the 5 years that you've had, because it's been nothing but a repeated cycle of incompetence. It's the truth. It's like, I feel bad because, like, obviously I don't do Yankee content anymore. My brother's doing his own thing now with the reporting, but It's just a repeated cycle. You feel like you're repeating the same stuff over and over again. If you watch I remember watching a stream from 3 years ago, which you guys covered the end of the ALCS where we got swept by the Astros.
Yeah.
Everything that was said in that stream could be relevant today. And I referenced it because another stream, which Boys in the Big Apple, this was when we had a few guests on, but Donald was one of our co-hosts at the time. And Donald I don't remember what Donald exactly said, I was trying to pull up my comment. It's in one of my comments somewhere.
Oh, yeah. But Cashman not being able to see the wood for the trees.
Yep. Brian Cashman has been in the job so long that he's not been able to see the wood for the trees. It's a recurring theme with this team. And to be honest with you, like I wasn't all that, and I'm not claiming a victory parade or anything like that, folks. I'm not trying to do that. August and September, I was like, okay, we'll see in October. And what did they do? Last year, I got all my anger out in the World Series, Game 3 and Game 5. I went ballistic, but it just showed like all the Yankee fans aren't stupid. Maybe there's some like naive Twitter fans, and that's Twitter. But like Yankee fans aren't stupid. They've seen the incompetence. I was ranting and raving last year. I talked about the complacency of the organization. I talked about poor ownership. I talked about the poor GMing, the active GMing. Tats, you made a great point. Just because he's an active GM doesn't make him a good one. Then you have Aaron Boone reinforcing this complacent culture. Let's also call what it is, folks. Aaron Judge, right? The great captain that we have, another complacent member of this organization. And I brought up this comparison. And you know what? I don't think it was even my original comparison. I think it might have been Donald's actually. Going back to one of our World Series streams, he's James Harden 2.0. You guys watch, if you guys watch basketball, you guys watch the 2017, 2018, middle 2010s Houston Rockets. He is James Harden. He is a phenomenal player in the regular season. He could win MVP. He might win MVP again, but he is a choker in the playoffs. He's worse than A-Rod. But unfortunately, like, and this will be the end of my opening statement so we can do like more dialogue and stuff. But like, I feel that nothing's going to change. I've said it when you guys were a trio and Rob was here and I was in the comments. I was like, for in order to be, there has to be change. You have to recognize a problem. The Yankees don't recognize a problem. They don't believe there's a problem because everything is okay. Once again, complacency. Everything is fine. Hal is absentee. He's probably on a yacht somewhere. Brian Cashman is the one that's really running the organization. It's not Hal Steinbrenner.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a good point. It's like if you're an addict, you know what I mean? The first step to realize that there's a problem. The Yankees are functioning alcoholics. That's what they are. Functioning, they do their jobs, but they are not the best at what they could be because they're not admitting that there's a problem here. They don't admit that there's a problem, and they need to admit that there's a problem. And if the fans can see it, every single one of us with a brain can see that there are problems here. But they just don't want to accept that responsibility because they don't want to mess with the very successful cash cow that they got right now, where they just stick, they just merchandise the shit out of everything. And charge obscene prices to go to the stadium, obscene prices to buy jerseys and sweatshirts and fucking Aaron Judge this, that, and the other. So they're like, well, maybe if we make changes, maybe we might struggle for a year and then we're going to maybe lose some money in revenue. We can't have that. So what we'll do is we'll just continue to be exactly what we are. Just a mediocre organization that'll make the playoffs, lose in the playoffs, but we'll always have an excuse for that. And we will then be delighted with our bottom line because, heck, they continue to sell out seats every single night, every single year. Yankee fans will travel all over in order to go to games. And they'll be like, well, if some old school fans check out, then there'll always be a new one waiting. There'll always be someone to take the seat, even if it'll be a tourist. So they're not that worried. And that's the mentality issue. It's not about championships. It's about the bottom line. It's all about the bottom line. And that starts with the top. Then you have a GM who is afraid to make the change, which is Aaron Boone. He's made a lot of changes, but he's not made the change, and that's Aaron Boone, because he knows that will reflect badly on him. So he's not doing anything. And then you go down to Aaron Boone, and he is as spineless as it comes because he refuses to take a stand and say, no, I'm not going to be a puppet. This isn't right. That isn't right. This player isn't pulling his weight. We need to make some changes. He's afraid to do that because he's comfortable taking $5 million a year being a puppet. So there's problems everywhere. And then you got Aaron Judge, who's given a captaincy without earning it. He's done nothing to earn a captaincy. Yeah, we won some MVPs. Guess what? This is the most historic organization in sports with Monument Park and with like 50 retired numbers. They've all won fucking things, right?
Yep.
Aaron Judge has won shit. He's won shit, and he gets a captaincy for it. And he gets people falling over their feet for him because he hit some home runs. I've seen home runs. Good for him.
Yep. I want to shout out real quick. Felix, thank you for the $2 super chat. He goes, why did Warren have to give up 6 more runs, though? I think, look, the way that Toronto was locked in at the plate yesterday, I don't think it mattered who was on the mound. They were going to handle their business, and they were going to tackle on runs.
I will say, though, Felix, Warren is ass. I've never liked
He's not good. He's not good.
That's why I don't think it mattered who you called out of the bullpen. That team was locked in last night. They were putting up more runs. I don't care who was on the mound.
And I'll say this for the record: I'm not excusing Luke. First of all, Luke Weaver should have not been used in Game 1. It should have been Fernando Cruz for that 7th inning because Fernando Cruz, obviously, he had a very great energy about him in Game 2 where he was fired up after getting out of that inning and all that. He's been much more reliable. But that strikeout, 3-2, bases loaded, will live on as the face of the Yankees' failure this season. Aaron Judge striking out the bases loaded in Game 1. That's what it will be. That's what it'll be. And I don't like. I'll be honest with you. I don't even see anybody defending him anymore on Twitter. It's everybody going at Judge, and rightfully so. He is going to be the one that costs himself a championship, whether it's his play in the postseason, because the game's in his head now. The game's in his head, but he remains a very complacent player. Or it's not, speaking up for change. Let's not. Don, you spoke about the captaincy, right? I said it on Twitter, maybe not at the time, but it was a very kind of forced captaincy. Remember all the negotiations that happened? Brian Cashman was essentially ready to let Aaron Judge go until Hal got on the phone and said, "What do you want? I'll give it to you." It was from probably miles away. Judge said, "Okay, I want this." Okay, fine. Then they gave him the captaincy. Okay, he was off an MVP year, sure. He broke Maris's record. He hadn't even won a World Series yet. He has not played well in the playoffs, but we'll give him the captaincy. It was forced. I 100% believe that. I don't believe Judge is a bad guy, but I don't think he has that playoff dog attitude. I don't. That's unfortunate.
And that's the big problem. It doesn't matter if they come back and win this. They can win the whole world. They could win the World Series and we'll feel good about it. But I think it shows that, like you were saying, Luca, following us for all these years and being friends this whole time, we've been complaining about the same issues over and over and over again. Even after getting to the World Series, before the first game was played, we were still talking about the flaws on this team and how it was just going to be a grind to get through the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, they showed that they were, they were the better team because they were able to capitalize. They knew our script better than we did. They knew we were going to make mistakes on the field. And unfortunately now, to bring it back to Judge, I think the gloves are off on Judge. The regular season, he's hard to complain about.
No.
But when it comes to the postseason, you know what? He's a big problem with why he's not going to get a ring. You have to sometimes look at it. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe my lack of clutches is the problem because when it comes to Game 5, I can't stop. I can't help make an error. Either I'm dropping the ball or it's going through my legs. It was the 5th inning. I'm like, this looks familiar.
Uncle T, you said it yourself last night. You were like, people are already writing articles saying that, they're wasting Aaron Judge's prime. Aaron Judge is doing a good job of doing that himself. Well said, Uncle T. You were right, and I completely agree with that. The Yankees have certainly had their hand in not taking advantage of his prime. That's certainly on them. But let's be honest, he's doing a very good job of that himself in the playoffs because a leader leads from the front.
Yep.
Aaron Judge in the playoffs needs his teammates to bail him out. That's been the story for years. Last year it was Soto and G. The years before it was just G. And this year he's now needing Cody, and he's needing fucking Stan, he's needing Jazz, he's needing all these guys to bail him out for his job because he is not leading. He just doesn't lead in the playoffs. He doesn't lead by example. Remember, here's a good example. Jalen Brunson, when the Knicks were about to get eliminated by the Pistons. What did Jalen Brunson do? At the buzzer, he sent the opposition guard
to moon.
Sent him to the moon. Sent Azar Thompson to the moon, and then hit a game-winning, series-winning shot. That is a captain. That is someone that's like, I got you guys. I got you guys. We're not losing today. And look at Vlad Guerrero. That's someone who's got that mentality. I got you guys. We're not losing today.
Yeah, his mentality is I'm not letting this postseason chance go to waste.
Exactly, man. He's hitting grand slams. He's diving, making great plays at first base. He's not even a very good first baseman. He's making great plays at first. He's hitting grand slams. He's hitting home runs. He's hitting all over the ballpark. That is a leader. That's someone who's like, I got you guys. Aaron Judge is hiding. He is hiding. And then you look at the stats yesterday, go, oh, but he got 2 hits and he got an RBI. What are you guys complaining about? He did it when they were down 13-2.
Yeah,
that's like celebrating Chris Paul hitting a 3-pointer when they're down 40. I mean, it's like, I'm not going to celebrate Aaron Judge. Now, he's not the big reason why the Yankees are going to be eliminated, but he's a big part of it. He's a cause, and I'm just bored. I'm bored of this, man. He did this last year. Dropped a ball in the World Series.
Yeah.
What did he do yesterday? Let a ball go right through his legs. This is the captain? This is the great Aaron Judge?
Not at all.
Fuck out of here.
Yeah, Donald, before I signed off yesterday, Donald, I said I had a question. I was going to save it for this morning. To kind of tease everybody. If you were there, you remember. I'll ask you guys, especially with Luca here. I think it'll be fun. We're all getting on Aaron Judge, right? And rightfully so. We're getting on him because of things that he's done. His ineptitude is why we're getting on him. But if you are still knowing the player he is and his, the back of his baseball card, are you still signing him? If you can go back in time as a free agent, are we still signing him to the contract that we did?
Look at
probably yes. Listen, he's a great player in the regular season. I understand where he comes from, Tats, but I'm not giving him the captaincy. I know your question was about the signing, but I'm not giving him the captaincy. I'm like, you are.
No, that ties into it, though. Yeah.
Oh, you have to sign him and give him if it's signing
no. The captaincy, it falls into why they did. I think that was a big reason for it, but it doesn't have to. The captaincy doesn't have to be included in the signing.
You're right. I think that was part of the negotiation, wasn't
Yeah.
it? It was sort of like, oh, if you come back,
the Yankees were like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna, but let's have a World Series appearance before we put that seal on your chest. That's kind of the roundabout to it, because that was a big reason why he took less money.
Facts. I completely agree with Luca. I extend them 100%. That contract's a steal, actually, when you look at it. It's a steal of the contract. He's more than repaid it. The years he's putting up are ridiculous. So I'm not saying that he's not pulling his weight. He's more than pulling his weight in the regular season. But the captaincy thing for me is the one thing that really annoys me. That's the one thing that really irritates me more than his sucking in the playoffs. It's the captaincy, because I'm sorry, but when you're the captain of the Yankees, that means more than if you're a captain of any old fucking team. You know what I'm saying? If he was any other organization in baseball, I don't think anyone would complain. But sorry, you're inheriting a captaincy that was worn by, Yogi and fucking Gehrig and
Munson.
Jeter and Mantle and Thurman Munson, Derek Jeter especially. There are standards. There are standards, and he is not reaching those standards in the postseason or in leadership at all. And to be honest, for me, and I don't know if you guys agree, for me, I believe that the whole captaincy thing came from a PR stunt. It was a PR stunt because the Yankees themselves lost the PR battle with Aaron Judge that offseason, where Brian
Right
Cash
before the season started,
when
he
Aaron
leaked the
Judge told him
contract.
not to. Remember? Aaron Judge was like, I'm more than happy to do this behind the scenes. Let's talk this out. Let's try and come to an agreement. They were unable to. They were kind of giving him some shitty ass contracts. He had every right to turn them down. But then he was like, just don't make it public. And what did Brian Cashman do? Because he's a little fucking weasel. He came out and made it public, right?
Like before the season started.
Brian Cashman misread that. He thought that it would all be like the whole narrative, be like, oh, Aaron Judge is greedy. But actually, it made the Yankees look terrible. And then so he lost the PR battle. Aaron Judge wanted nothing to do with Brian Cashman. And then they also didn't read that the San Francisco Giants would go as hard as they did. And I don't think they read that the Padres would go as hard as they did for Aaron Judge. And they were like,
the Padres contract scared the shit out of them.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, shit, we're actually going to lose our fucking cash cow, our best player, our franchise player. And also, Hal Steinbrenner is getting booed. He was getting booed mercilessly that year, remember? While Aaron Judge was hitting 62 home runs, he was unsigned. Hal was getting his ass booed, right? So how do you turn that over? Well, win the PR battle by giving him a captaincy. Give everyone's favorite player the captaincy. That'll help take the heat off me. That'll take the heat off Brian Cashman. That's why they did it. It wasn't for reasons in terms of winning championships. It was PR, and that's what I believe. Luca, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it was all fun and games, the judges' chambers early on and 2017, 2018, 2019. But does that really deserve that? Does the judges' chambers actually deserve to be there in right field? I'm being so serious right now. The judges, they have a section. I said this in my rant last year. They have a section named in right field after him. He's once again, great regular season player. Can't do it in the playoffs. Do you really have do you have the right to have a section in right field named after you at this point?
I think the fact that it's used for charities and stuff like that, I like the premise of it, but as far as having, like a judge's chamber, like as quick as it did, it was kind of like, kind of a little cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the premise of, when you look at the totality of the responses to my question, I think we would take Aaron Judge on this team. If we had the first pick to start a whole new team, Aaron Judge would be one. We love Aaron Judge as a Yankee. We love him as a ball player. In the regular season, the postseason is a different animal, but there are players that will have, they can have a 200 batting average come October. Look at Volpe October in the wild card. We didn't want him I didn't want him on the roster. Yep. And he showed up. We're like, all right, for a few days, you got a reprieve. Well, now it's Judge's turn to take the heat because he can't handle it. He can't handle the pressures of October. And it's not to say that I want him off the team. I'm not saying, I don't think anybody in their right mind would say trade him away, you bench him, because it just takes one hit to get him going. But I think because he's the captain, because he's Aaron Judge, that he's immune from any criticism, I think that's bullshit. He's just as accountable as any other player on that roster.
Let's have a look at some of the messages in the chat. Do appreciate everyone that's hopping in. Felix says if Judge was free agent today, he would get $900 million. And you're right. That's why it was a steal of a contract. Like you make that contract was a very good contract. No doubt about it. It's over. Tuesday is war. The Jays role players showed up. Now it's Grisham, Wells, Volpe's turn. Back Judge. Protect the stadium. No celebrations for Toronto on our turf. Win or go home. I mean, I love the passion and stuff like that, man, but we're not the ones to tell. It's the players. Did you get any sense of passion from those players after the Yankees got humiliated in game one?
No.
Did you see I'm saying it's over. Did you see any hint in Game 2 when they lost? They gave up 13 runs. Did you see any hint from Aaron Judge? Aaron Judge is like, oh, these things happen. It's baseball. They had good pitching. Blah, 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 blah. That's the problem. It's over. We as fans can do our job, but to be fair, these players have a mentality issue. It isn't war on Tuesday. The Yankees have never once approached a game like it's war. I wish they fucking would. It's over. I really wish. I love your passion. But the Yankees don't share that passion. They treat the playoffs like a day in the regular season. And if you don't agree with me, just listen to the stuff that Aaron Boone says. He's like, oh, well, we have to plan for another one series and they've got another time. He doesn't really manage with any urgency. There's a mentality issue with the Yankees and the players. So, yeah, it should be it's war. I mean, your comment isn't wrong. That's what it should be, and that's what it used to be. But with Aaron Boone and this mentality, it just doesn't exist. Protect the stadium. Doesn't exist anymore. There is no rivalry. The Yankees just treat every game like it's the fucking regular season. They don't treat it with any urgency. They don't manage for their jobs. They don't manage for the pride of the Yankees. They don't manage to win championships. Because they know that they're very cushy. If they do lose, which they will, then they'll just have a whole list of excuses and then roll it back next year. So I'm sorry. I like the comment, but I disagree. Yeah. That's not the Yankees anymore. I wish it was, but it isn't. Stevie B says, I heard there was a players-only meeting after yesterday's loss. If so, better late than never. No. What a fucking clown show. That's the only thing that I can think of. Because they have how hard did they fucking party after they beat the Red Sox? And now 2 days later they're having a fucking players-only meeting. There's a mentality issue here with the Yankees.
Where was all these players-only meetings when they were getting their asses handed to them in the summer months? With the June swoon and July, whatever the fuck they were nicknaming it all. Yeah, where was the players wanting to hold themselves accountable then? Now you guys want to stop playing? It's too late. It's possibly, I don't want to say guaranteed, but it's too late. Tomorrow could be the last game you play this year. Do they I don't think they understand the magnitude of that. Like they don't understand. I don't think they understand or grasp the reality of what the New York Yankees fan base puts ourselves through emotionally every season. With it, no matter, even when they were in a nosedive, that stadium that was still packed. They were still showing up to rally this team together and gave them back nothing. And that's why I was so frustrated.
I mean, if that is true that they're having a players-only meeting, and that's absurd, guys. 2 days prior, they're having a champagne celebration. 2 days later, they're holding themselves a foot. Like, where are they then?
I hope the meeting started from Judge going, this is my fault.
Jake,
I haven't shown up.
Now, this I don't agree with. I don't necessarily know if it's a mentality issue. We see the players saying they want to win all the time. It's not about, of course, everybody wants to win. We all want to win. It's the players that hate to lose. There is a big difference between people that want to win and hate to lose. Everybody wants to win. I want to see people that hate to lose. That was something that Bill Parcells always used to say. Everybody wants to win. So he's like, if you're asking someone, what is winning means to you, I want to win. Everybody wants to win. Yeah, the people that hate to lose are the ones that you need to have in your locker room. And Aaron Judge is not one of those guys. He's just not someone that hates to lose. There is a mentality issue. Look at There is a mentality issue here, right?
Oh, for sure. That's been the whole thing for the past 7 years with the Yankees. Like you'll hear Aaron Boone talk about in the press conference, "Oh, I've seen some good things." And like, do you ever have in the last 7 years, have you guys seen like a player that says, we really should have won that game. I hate to lose this, that, and the third. Judge doesn't do that. He's like, "Oh, we'll get him next game," or whatever the heck.
Yep.
Hey, Donald, after World Series Game 1, they blew it in glorious fashion. A loss is a loss from the captain.
Yeah.
Remember that?
And a loss is a loss.
A loss is a loss. That's mentality. That's not. They have a huge complacent mentality, and I complained about that last year. So,
absolutely. Jake says yes, but these games have been on the players not performing. People are
the
saying
team looks unprepared, though. That's the problem. They look They completely look lost. And the players are obviously to blame, but the problem is they completely look lost. They celebrated too hard. The mentality's not there to get. They don't have a killer instinct. They don't have a killer instinct, and they look very much unprepared. That's the problem.
Jake, this one's the easiest comment that I could possibly say here, right? The Yankees looked like they gave up in Game 1. They were unfocused. And they were certainly unfocused in Game 2. They did not have a plan. They did not have a strategy. Now I don't blame them for being happy to get through the Red Sox, but it looks like they went a little bit too hard because it doesn't look like they were entirely focused going into this Blue Jays series. That comes down to management.
They spent all their energy.
Exactly. They look unfocused. They didn't have a strategy. What is their strategy to get Vlad Guerrero out? Now, the Blue Jays manager on the other dugout is afraid of Aaron Judge, and he's pitching around him, or he's pitching pitches in the dirt, and he's making Aaron Judge expand his zone because he knows that the pressure's on Judge. But he's making him expand his zone, but he's also got a strategy. What is Aaron Boone's strategy to get Vlad Guerrero out? What's his strategy to get Springer out? What was his strategy to get Freeman out last year? What was his strategy to get Ohtani out, whether he's playing for the Angels or the Dodgers? What was the strategy to get Devers out? The one common denominator since 2018, every single playoff says, but the players aren't performing. You can't keep blaming the manager all the time. The one common denominator is Aaron Boone because the roster has been changed multiple times. How many white whales has Brian Cashman brought in for Aaron Boone? He's brought in Garrett Cole. He's brought in Max Fried. How many more white whales can he possibly land him? He's given him Juan Soto. How many more stars? Now he's got Cody Bellinger. How many more stars does Aaron Boone need? It's been 2018. This is not just a small sample size. We're talking years. And the one common denominator is Aaron Boone. Jake, what is Aaron Boone's record in the postseason? He's 23-25.
Aaron Boone is nothing more than a spectator. He's nothing more than a spectator. Like anybody, like Tats, Donald, whoever in the chat could go out there and manage the same game as Aaron Boone. Who knows, maybe even better because they have the slightest bit of foresight that Aaron Boone does not have when he manages a game. And it's so hard to believe. Like everybody says, "Oh, he's a baseball man. He's a baseball man." No, he's not. He's a fraud. Compare it to his father, Bob Boone, obviously. But you know what? Here's this tweet I wanted to bring up. This is from Mark Carrig of The Athletic MLB. Giancarlo Stanton tore into the Yankees this year during a tough stretch. Aaron Judge called the fiery speech a wake-up call. With the Yankees on the brink, they'll need to draw again on Stanton's message of playing up to their talent. Stanton said that. Not Boone, not Judge.
Not Judge. You know that my eyes raised at the point where Aaron Judge said, that was a big. What did he say? What did Aaron Judge say? That was a what?
The Stanton fiery speech was a wake-up call.
Aaron Judge, the captain, said that's a wake-up call.
That is correct.
Yep. Everyone in the chat should be afraid of that.
God, this is worse than we thought.
Everyone in the chat should be afraid of that. The captain is the one that's like, oh, wow, that's a wake-up call. Good Lord. So we've obviously gotten embarrassed in the first two games. Where are the Yankees going to go from here?
It was also Stanton. See, this is why
All right, Tats has come off there. Right, let's say I've got a question here.
Yeah.
Look at what changes would
I'm
you make
hoping
in
on
the
my
offseason?
end, but
What changes would you make in the
what I will
offseason?
say, just in case,
Tats,
are we all back?
Tats, stop. Right, look at what changes would you make in the offseason?
Changes. Well, I wish the Yankees would fire Aaron Boone. That's something I would do. I would completely clean house. I would completely clean house. Boone, you're gone. Cashman, you're gone. Scrape the front office. What's up to Armand? Scrape the entire front office because everybody brings this up every year. Gene Afterman has been like you bring. I think Real Bo Sheck on Twitter always brings up this graphic. Afterman's been there since 2001. Mike Fishman's been there since 2005. Damon Oppenheimer's been there since the mid 2000s. Tim Naring has been there a long time. I want fresh blood in the front office and the analytics department. Fire them all. Also, so much for Trent Grisham having this big year, the big contract year. He is a dud in the playoffs, an absolute dud. I am letting him walk. That was the biggest fallacy I've ever seen. Listen, Grisham played his ass off in the regular season, but you look at all his numbers across different years, that was the absolute biggest fallacy I've ever seen. That was the biggest example of what you would call the contract year phenomenon. He will never put up those numbers again. Give me 1 second, guys.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. It's a great point. Yeah, Tats, you were lagging, and so you.
Yeah, I thought it was on my end when Fulton started. I apologize to the audience for that, but no, it's because we had such a great conversation going. It kind of sucks that internet is that.
Don't worry about
it. No, it's one of these where
what changes would you make?
I think look. Sometimes you got to cut the fish off at the head. It's got to come with Boone, And yes, we do hold all season for the last couple of years. We hold the players accountable just as much as the manager. But if the manager is not getting the best out of the players and keeping them focused, it doesn't matter how big of a bubble he can blow. He blows, and let him go blow bubbles in the stands because he's done nothing to elevate this team. Because Donald, you're absolutely right. The common denominator is blown. Yeah. Everything was looking like it looked like we were on our way back to relevancy, to dominance in 2017. They brought in a new manager, and the team has gone backwards since.
Right.
You were saying how with Grisham, Luca, it's the same thing. Last year it was the same thing. It was an anomaly. They were lucky that they got to that point. I think that it was also their path to the playoffs, like I was saying earlier in the show. When you saw the path of the playoffs last year with the AL Central, they were not that they didn't belong there, but they were not that competitive level like the AL East was this year. The Yankees couldn't beat the AL East. They barely got through the Orioles. The Rays gave them problems. The Blue Jays obviously gave them problems. The Red Sox owned us all regular season. Did we think that they actually had a shot this year?
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
And Jake is right. I do agree with him here on this matter. Let's be real. Hal's not going to make any changes. All he cares about is getting into the postseason. That is spot on. But that is also the mentality issue that I've been talking about. That is the problem.
But Donald, if I can interject real quick. Maybe if you had a different manager, you'd be getting more than 4 gate checks this postseason.
Right.
If it's all about money, how about what the money will be if you actually have somebody that can lead them to win a World Series rather than just sneak into the playoffs?
Hold my beer. Mets just got rid of their whole coaching staff. Why can't the Yankees? But they've kept Mendoza, haven't they?
Yeah,
Mendoza's getting a chance to choose his own staff.
Well, see, that's for me. That's what the problem is. Because, by the way, the Yankees have done the same thing a couple of years ago.
They fired Phil Nevin. I remember. Yep. They fired Larry Rothschild. I think 2 years in. They've shuffled some coaches, but again, they haven't changed managers, so it's pointless.
They've flown through hitting coaches. They've had
Marcus
multiple bench
Timms.
coaches.
Remember Sean Casey? Sean
Sean
Casey from MLB Network came down to coach the Yankees. Marcus Timms, Sean Casey. What was that guy's name? I think his name was PJ. Or Dylan Lawson. Dylan Lawson.
Yeah.
And then there was, I think, maybe another hitting coach in there. But yeah, they've
Marcus Timms, the whole fucking bunch. We've had multiple hitting coaches. We've had multiple bench coaches, multiple third base coaches, multiple coaching staff changes. And guess what? It doesn't matter because you need to cut off the head. Aaron Boone is the one that's in charge of these decisions. So, I mean, in the Mets case, I think it's kind of pointless. Mendoza was a big reason why they struggled this year, right? He couldn't motivate that team. So, I mean, I find it pointless. It's like in football, if you keep your head coach but you fire all his assistants. I mean, there's clearly a problem there that the fact you need to go ahead and need to make those changes in the first place. But why are you afraid of firing the manager? Aaron Boone, for me, is the problem. So I don't really care who his assistants are, personally.
I know Joe Mush is saying in the chat, bring Girardi back, but the Yankees had several chances at other managers. Think about it. I know it's hindsight. They probably could have hired Terry Francona last year. Last year, after the World Series, I said hire Skip Schumacher, who's now going to be the Texas Rangers manager. Those are just two managers. I'm sure there's another few that the Yankees could have hired with Aaron Boone currently, obviously in his job. They could have fired him, but no. They should have fired him after 21. They should have fired him after 22. 2023, missing the playoffs was the perfect time to clean house. Get rid of everybody. No, they didn't do that. 2024, could have fired. It's nonsensical. It's nonsensical. And I know you guys were talking about Howland revenue and stuff. Like the stadium, Tats was saying, I wouldn't have went to a game had it been for Donald going to the States and whatnot. And I understand that point totally. The stadium atmosphere is a joke. Let me say that for the record. It was actually funny because this is a true story. Me and Donald were talking backstage. It was after a Knicks playoff game we did. And that Sunday, this was like a Friday, I think. That Sunday, I was supposed to go to a game with four of my friends and my brother, and I was constantly complaining about it. And Donald was like, just be positive, man. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I'm like, yeah, I'll try to be positive and enjoy it. It was that Sunday game against the Rays. The Yankees lost like 7-4 or 8-4, something like that. Pablo Reyes was in the starting lineup. Right. It could not be more miserable. I was in the left field. I was in the bleacher section. I know it's not the right field bleacher section. Left field bleachers. It was rainy. It was miserable. And to throw oil on the ice or whatever you want to say, there was nobody getting up and cheering. Everybody was just on the phone, watching like this. There was nothing. The stadium atmosphere joke. Donald always brings up the prices. I think my cousins, it was the last Yankee game I went to, and that'll defend because, that was the last time going out with my cousins before I moved down here. But it was like late July. I think it was like a chicken bucket and a thing of soda cost like $30. $30 we're talking. There's like Hard Rock Cafe inside the stadium. There's all these different little desserts. The 99 burger, the Wells thing, the tiramisu the tiramisu cake in a helmet. Let's also mention that the Yankees have playoff nachos. And they're down 2-0 in the American League Division Series right now. But they always have time for new creations.
Right. Tats, do you remember
when they created a new coaching staff rather than a new fucking kitchen menu?
Tats, do you remember when we went to the Yankee Stadium store and I found a hoodie and I was like, oh, this is a nice hoodie.
Oh, that was a nice fucking hoodie.
I went to the checkout and then almost fucking fainted. $300.
Oh, my God.
$300? I was like, no, you can keep that.
Yeah, no, we walked out. You did buy the decal, though.
I'm not fucking paying $300. That's fucking absurd, man.
The Yankees are profitable enterprise. Somebody said it months ago. The Yankees are just profitable enterprise. And what you guys were saying earlier, I was saying it too. They are selling their past as their president by using profitable enterprise. That's it.
Right, that's what they are. TC's spot on here. I loved what Pappy said. They could bring back Jesus and the Yankees wouldn't win. He says, yeah, he's like, you can bring Mo. You'd have to bring Mo. You'd have to bring Jeter. You'd have to bring A-Rod back. Probably need to have Jesus. It's the only way that the Yankees could win. And he's right, because those are the only guys that knew how to win. Let's be fair.
No, I think the post game show with the discussions with Poppy and G, I thought they were spot on. At least, I mean, they gave us a better breakdown of what went wrong than Boone did. Boone just gave us, lip service, and one who the hell saw that coming? I thought Boone was going to give us a real honest take on what went wrong. Nope, not Booney. Mr. Media cannot give it to us straight. But
Right.
before we got
300, dude, I handed it back. I was like, I ain't fucking paying that. More expensive than a fucking Yankee jersey.
If I wasn't there, I wouldn't believe it. I'd be like, because I don't go into the store too often.
No,
actually, I went there the last time I was there only because I needed a new hat, and it was I didn't want to get when you have no hair, you got to worry about the sun. So I got suckered into buying a hat. But I'm like, all right, like. Before we start, the prices at the stadium, you're right, are absolutely ridiculous. So if I'm going, 2-3 times a year, I don't mind it, because one, I always go with my son, and I never take that for granted. To me, like the baseball play is kind of like secondary when you get to sit and you get to cheer on. You have that memory with your son, or your father, or whoever you're at the game with. Right, memories are priceless.
Agreed.
But getting back to coming home to the stadium, I'll close out with this question: if you had to put a percentage on the Yankees surviving the game 3 back at the stadium, after seeing the momentum that the bats were getting, even though he obviously fell short, where's the confidence level with the bats that they're going to be able to get anything done and force a game 4?
Well, you got Shane Bieber on the mound, I think. I'm going to go like 25%, honestly. I would not be shocked if the Yankees somehow win game 3 just to lose game 4, just to extend the series and just give the fans just a little bit of hope. But I'm going to say like 25%. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got swept either. But my final thing is 25%. Wouldn't be surprised if they win game 3.
Donald?
I think the Yankees will win game 3. I'm going to go as high as 60%. I'm pretty sure that the Yankees will win game 3 because they kind of have to. But it doesn't matter because they're going to lose the fucking series. They'll probably lose it in 4. I wouldn't be surprised if it's very similar to the way that they melted down against the Dodgers when they went back to the stadium and then they were up 5-0 and then they started dropping the ball over the infield. That's who the Yankees are. So I think the Yankees will maybe win game 3 and then they'll lose in game 4. But either way, they're losing this series. Like that is like I would say there's a 0% chance. I've seen the Yankees come back from deficits before. This isn't the team to do it. They just don't have the mentality to do it. They don't have the winners to do it. There's no winners in this team. There are no winners in this team. Obviously we've seen the Yankees come back against the A's from 2-0, but that's when you had Jeter, you had Posada, you had Jeter doing a fucking incredible fucking backflip because he would do anything that would take to win. This Yankee team doesn't do that. This Yankee captain is letting balls go right through his fucking legs. This team isn't gonna fucking do shit. So I'm sorry. I don't want to be negative, but I have to be honest. It's not going to happen. But so the percentages are they'll probably win game 3, but they're going to lose game 4. What was the rest of your question? You had an extra. Wasn't there was another?
No, that was just the percentage of them coming back and escaping elimination their first trip back to the stadium. For me, right. I think it's 50-50. I don't think. I think it's 50%. I'm not getting overly optimistic, but I think the way that they started rallying a little bit, and they were the pitching just put them too far behind the 8 ball to make a true comeback. And
I know I
like Rodon on the mound.
I know I was going to add because you were saying with the momentum of their bats starting to wake up at the end of the game. That was only when we faced their shitty middle relief.
That's true.
We weren't doing shit when Savage was on the mound.
Yeah, but
So,
Bieber, almost like heel, came back from it. He hasn't had a full season yet.
but
So
what I'm
there's still a
saying is,
question mark over what Bieber's going to look like in the postseason.
how many times have the Yankees actually faced good pitching this year and done much of shit?
I mean, what was it? Savage had 11 strikeouts after 5 innings.
Yeah,
Like
struck out 50
he had 4 after 10. He had 10 after 4.
Right. The Yankees are flat track bullies. And that's why they're so successful in the regular season, because the odds are, and that's why their analytics are semi-successful, the odds are that they will face a lot of flat track mediocre teams and mediocre pitching, mediocre middle relief that they can beat up on. They have the perfect roster for it. But when it comes down to the postseason, where everything is magnified, every run matters, they just don't have strategy to get their best guys out. The other team has a strategy to get our guys' best guys out. There's a difference. That's why I keep putting it back down to the manager. There is a mentality issue.
It's unfortunate. It sucks that we have to have these types of conversations prior to the season actually ending. But TC is right. They make zero adjustments.
No adjustment.
Never
once did they make adjustments
against the Jays for not taking it. Go ahead, Donald.
I said never once have they made any adjustments when they faced Devers. Did they make any adjustments when they faced Freeman last year? Whenever they face good hitters, they don't make any adjustments. What did they do when they faced Bregman in the last series? They were very lucky to have gotten out of that situation. They pitched to Bregman with a base open. What happened? He drove in a run. This is what the Yankees do. They don't have a strategy. They're arrogant. They think, we'll get everybody out.
It's autopilot.
Yeah.
Yep. No, they're going to watch all the fans come through with their with ridiculous postseason prices. They're going to count their money.
Yep.
They're going to go on vacation early, and sucks for them because all the good seats in Cancun are already taken. So they're gonna be sitting in the back of the bar, going, man, we didn't have to be here, and it's they have only themselves to blame,
right?
Whether it's the manager, the players, the captain, the GM, the owner, everybody, the coaching staff. This is everyone's fault. Now, are we coming on Wednesday and talking about a shocking win and but or are we just blame the inevitable? We'll find out when we get back on Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. with Donald. Hopefully Rob will be back from his little mini vacation. Luca, appreciate you for jumping on. I haven't talked to you in forever, so this was a nice surprise.
Great.
I messaged Donald. I'm like, find out if Luca's free. So I really appreciate you jumping on.
It was a joy to talk to you, my guy. We should definitely have you on very, very soon.
Absolutely.
Everyone, bless up to my man Luca, my good buddy down south. How's things down south, man? You all right?
Oh, things are good. It's a little cloudy today, but it's been very warm as of recent. But yesterday was very nice and sunny, so I'm enjoying myself.
Oh, man. It's good to see you again, man. Take care, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and After Dark is possibly on hold tonight. I got to see what happens once I get to work, if I'm getting out on time or not. So once I know the schedule, then you'll see it post up. But unfortunately, that's when you work nights, that's how it is sometimes. But with that, did appreciate everybody spending their morning with us. Hope we helped you vent a little bit. Hope we were a sounding board for all your frustration. Because I think we all share the same sentiment. So with that, make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button.
Hit it like hard.
Smack it like fucking the Jays hit the baseball yesterday.
Yeah. Smack it like Vlad Guerrero smacks the Yankees.
But make sure also share this out, your friends, your family. The stream is on the corner. And enjoy the rest of your day. Luckily, there's no baseball for the Yankees tonight, so they cannot hurt us tonight. But we will be back Wednesday and break it down. Hopefully, we're talking about Game 4 and not off-season expectations. But it's all up to Judge and what he decides to do as the leader of this club. So he better earn that seat on his chest. So with that, make sure you wear those pinstripes with pride because the players aren't, and play hard because the players aren't.